Welcome to the snug of my little castle here in Wales. Shawster and I are delighted to see you back here for another episode of Country Living with Mock. But today's episode is slightly different because we're not spending time at my castle. We're going to visit a manor house in Oxfordshire. We're going to go and see my friend Charles and visit his house, Friars Court, which is very old, very beautiful, and we get a tour of his moated property. So come along with me on a road trip. Let's go to Friars Court. Are you ready? So I'm here in Oxfordshire at Friar Court, which is owned by my friend Charles, and he's going to give me a tour of his beautiful garden and show me around his Elizabethan home. So come with me to Friar Court on a gorgeous Sunday afternoon. Friar Court is about an hour and a half drive from my little castle, and I was full of anticipation as the gates slowly opened to welcome me to the court. And I wasn't let down. I had my first view of this gorgeous Elizabethan home covered in a Virginia creeper. I parked up and I was very excited to arrive, and then my friend Charles came out to greet me. So, Charles, do you want to introduce yourself and tell us where we are?
So, my name's Charles Wilmer, and this is my home, Friars Court. The house goes back for over 850 years, but my family have been here for just over a century. And I enjoy showing people around and letting them explore my gardens.
And what do you think the responsibilities are of somebody who owns an historic home in England?
You are not an owner, you're a custodian, because you are basically looking after the heritage. It is a challenge. A few drips and leaks in this place, but it's great fun being here.
And what do you love most about Friars Court?
I'll have to say the history. Just being around, and I talk to the house quite a bit, which does sound a bit strange at times. But it's got a lovely warm atmosphere and vibe to it, so I do absolutely love being here. Apart from some of the cold winter days when it does get very cold.
Taking advantage of a warm spring day, we walked down the drive to go and visit the moat.
These are part of the old moat ponds because Friars Court's a moated house. The moat's over 500 years old. And these ponds here were filled in over 150 years ago, and we restored them 25 years back. And we actually use these as wildlife habitat, so we don't use them for rearing fish for food. And there's a few little interesting things tucked around the side.
So Charles took me for a little wander along the side of the moat, admiring the reeds, and then I came across the willows.
This tunnel used to be 50 foot long, and we had a central... This willow tunnel, these wings here were created about 6 years ago by a friend as a little thank you present. The tunnel used to be over 50 foot long, but then this section unfortunately died because it was over 20 years old. So I will hopefully one day learn how to weave a new tunnel, but it's just another thing to do.
Well, I have to admit, if Charles ever gets round to weaving a new tunnel by the side of the 500-year-old moat, I will be first in line to help him. I had great fun walking over the moat, and then, just like a schoolboy, walking through the willow tunnel. What a moment to enjoy.
So this is called murmuration. It was done by a sculptor called Peter Creswell, and it's made up of 90 little murms, which turn depending on the wind, and they sparkle in the sun. So sometimes it's completely matte, and then all of a sudden it will just spring into life and just shine. It's absolutely lovely. It's very quiet and very subtle.
Very quiet and very subtle. I spotted something on the wall.
I won it in this charity thing, and it is a bit cheap and naff. It's so not a garden, but I just suddenly thought, I'll put it on the wall. The amount of people who comment about it is quite weird.
Whilst we took a walk alongside another moat, I asked Charles about the history of his family and its connection to Friar Court.
My grandfather came here in 1917 and as a tenant, and then 3 years later the landowner turned round and said, buy up or get out. So my grandfather bought Friars Court with 200 acres of land, and he paid a princely sum of £12,000 for it. So we've had two centenaries. We had a centenary of residency in 2017 and a centenary of ownership in 2020.
So when Charles had talked to me about Friars Court in the past, I hadn't quite appreciated that it is surrounded by water, which of course means one thing: absolutely gorgeous bridges. And he has a beautiful one here, which we had a chance to walk over. So come along with me and walk over this gorgeous bridge.
So here we go, over the moat.
And as we walked through the woodland clearing on the other side, Charles explained what it would be like to be a bride and get married here.
So if you were a bride, I'd say this is where you walk out and this is where you can now get married. So you can get, we have our licensed areas, which are underneath the cherry tree, the rose arbor, like the gazebo.
So where are we now and what is this project all about?
So this is the site of my old tennis court, which was looking very dilapidated. So last year we ripped it out and we've created a brand new garden area, which is slightly different because we got a parterre around here into which I've incorporated a labyrinth. And it's not a maze. A labyrinth is basically a single line, so you can't get lost. You can meander all the way around the terracing area, and it's an area of quiet contemplation and relaxation, and also if you're slightly OCD it will drive you mad. There's a lovely fountain which we're waiting to get turned on, and then we'll be finishing off down by a big oak swing seat at the far end of the garden. And then there'll be a nice big swing seat here with a view straight off down the garden to the bridge in the distance. This is my little museum.
Wow. So tell me, I'm in the museum. Tell me about this place.
So this is where we have lots of little artifacts which we've recovered from the farm over the last 50 years or so. And it ranges from medieval Roman to Bronze Age. But everyone's got a bit of history and I like to put it all on show.
What's your favourite and most interesting piece in the museum?
So this is my favourite little piece, and it's a Bronze Age axe head, and it's got some little scratches on here which were actually made by my uncle, who was a historian. When it was found in the 1960s, he got a set of car keys, scratched it and went, yeah, that's Bronze Age. This has been authenticated by the Ashmolean Museum, so this is 3,000 years old and it still has a bit of an edge to it. This tea towel was actually, it shows important things. There's Nelson, my German Shepherd, yeah. Mr. Carson and Mrs. Hughes, and then we also have Percy the Parrot. Percy the Parrot, unfortunately, is now Polygon.
And my tour of the garden continued past beautifully fragrant wisteria and stunning grounds. Charles told me he does have help, but it's amazing how well kept it is. And then we popped inside. Come say hello.
Hello
in your own home.
Yeah, we use the front door more than we should, because I know they normally say for a front door you should be carried in and out of it twice in your life and carried on both occasions. Everyone likes a red living room, dining room.
So you said this room originally was magnolia, and it was, your mother had it magnolia?
It was magnolia and wood chip wallpaper. This entire house used to be magnolia, and so we've just gotten around to putting a little bit more colour on the walls and making it a bit more fun.
What do you use this room for?
This is for when I ever have friends around, we do dining. And it's also where I like to put my portrait on display, because then I can show myself off.
Tell me about this.
So this was done by a friend of mine, artist Nick Moore, and it tells a story about me. So I've got I cook, and so I've got all the things I bake in the kitchen. We've got the Maltese cross. The dragonfly is symbolic of my mother. The German Shepherd is because I love German Shepherds and I've had them for 30 years. And the bridge in the background is symbolic of my two sisters who passed away when I was young. So the story tells a little, picture tells a story, and in the glitter there are food mixtures, and I think there's a wine bottle in there, because yes, I used to enjoy a few bottles of wine.
Unfortunately, my time at Friars Court was up, and after some tea and cake, Charles waved me on my way.
Cheerio then.
I'd had the most wonderful afternoon, but on to my next adventure, which I'll share in the next episode. Well, that was Friar Court in Oxford, and it's very near the site of a great hero of mine, Lord Bernard's house in Farringdon. Now, he had a folly for his partner, Robert. It's very rarely open, but it's open today. So I'm going to take you to look at Lord Bernard's folly, and I am absolutely, I cannot tell you, so excited to go and see the folly. Oh, what an amazing afternoon I spent at Charles's beautiful home at Friars Court. The moated gardens, absolutely stunning, and so much history all in one place. And interestingly, I share the view that when you live in an historic home, you're a custodian. You don't own it, you're simply looking after it and improving it for the next generation. But my adventures did not stop there. I went on to Farringdon to see Lord Bernard's folly, and in the next episode, I'll take you along with me. But for now, wherever you are and whoever you love, I wish you well, I wish you joy, and I say thank you for coming along with me this afternoon. Take care, and we'll see you soon. Just say hi. Oh, he's very sleepy today. Goodbye.